Gentlemen, you are tuned into the Status Network, the live TV channel, and this is the Conversation Corner with your host, the author, Andrew Snorton. And as we do every second and fourth Wednesday at this time, we have a great conversation with great guests across entertainment, business, community, and more. So before we get into our first guest for the evening, we're going to take care of some station announcements as well as some awesome public service announcements so you can be in the know of some great things taking place. First off with Status Network, we appreciate you taking time not only to support me, but more than just me, supporting the entire Status Network family of television shows, hosts, and of course radio and more. So to best enjoy tonight's show, make sure to visit statusnetwork.net, and on the big pop-up box, just go ahead and fill in for Conversation Corner. That way you'll get your text updates when we air live, and you can also catch on to all the archival shows. For those of you that have room on your smart device, make sure to download the Status Network app, click on channels, click on live TV, and you're good to go. For your social media pieces, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, YouTube, and other social media platforms, make sure to go ahead and add Status Network and live TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire Stick. You can tune in to Status Network, and if you haven't added me yet, please make sure to do so today and the next day and the day after that on Facebook Live at author Andrew Snorton. So now let's go into a great station announcement that will be of real interest to those aspiring filmmakers that are out there. Okay. Well, what we're going to make sure to do is, even though we're not showing it right now, as you may or may not be aware, Status Network has its own film channel. So if you or someone you know is a filmmaker, documentary, things along those lines, make sure to connect with us here at the station at Status Network, and let's go ahead and make it happen so that way you can get the exposure that your film needs. Now let's go into our public service announcements. And our first announcement, as you see right there, thanks to our friends at This Is Custom, their I Am Black Legacy t-shirt line. It is a great buy, not only at this time, but anytime. So make sure to build your legacy today. So thanks to the awesome team at This Is Custom. Our next public service announcement, Quarantine Con Tech. That's right. It's not only for the mid-20s, but the 30s and 40s. Look at here. If you're looking to go ahead and improve your job awareness, as you see right there, they've got a top-notch listing of some great tech companies and things along those lines, and they'll have a special interview with one of the people who's in charge of diversity at Zoom. So shouts to Scooter Taylor and the hard work that he is doing. Our next public service announcement is actually going to be a short video reminder.
Students and parents, as you're probably aware, the ACT and SAT landscape has changed just a little bit. It's important that you not only take time to get prepared, but make sure you're in constant contact with the colleges and universities that you are targeting to see what their requirements are. As you can tell, the ACT has widely expanded their testing dates to accommodate for as many people as possible. The SAT has added an additional day in order to make sure to accommodate as many as possible. Again, make sure to register as promptly as possible and reach out to us today. We've worked with schools, community groups, students, and student athletes, and we have a wide range of options to work with you, including virtual through Zoom. Again, make sure to reach out to us today so we can help you make it happen.
Great work from Creative Community Solutions. So for those who are needing to take the ACT and SAT, make sure to check them out. Another way that you can connect with me is each and every Wednesday on Zoom, on my Facebook Live at author Andrew Snorton, and on Instagram Live at author A Snorton, the Fast 15, 1:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time each and every Wednesday. It's a great way to kind of pause, pump our brakes, enjoy a short reading, as well as making sure just to kind of take a break during our now normal. Our next public service announcement. You know you're starting to get big time when you have merchandise, so you definitely want to get your merch. It is the first of many, phase one, which is our bracelet series. We have them in black and gold. So not only if you or someone you know has black and gold as their favorite colors, make sure to go ahead and get yours. You can contact me directly, $6 per bracelet, just a nice way to make a nice statement and then some. Our next public service announcement, the next audiobook release from yours truly in the Author's Mixtape audiobook series, Volume 3, is Get the Bag. That's right. This is a 9-track audiobook experience that will be available on the 8th of August. So my folks in southwestern Kentucky know the big deal with the 8th of August. So make sure to check that out. 8th of August, available on almost 300 of your favorite platforms from Tidal, Spotify, SoundCloud, things of that nature. And the next video that you're going to see, I'm really excited. It is the announcement of my new book, Nothing Minor, dealing with minor league baseball. You can actually pre-order it. So let's go to the video. This is the author, Andrew Snorton. I'm inviting you to join me for Nothing Minor, my next book release, which covers minor league baseball and the great teams and players in the Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and Mississippi. And we even have a special shout to the Negro Southern League Museum. Make sure to check out the release date of July 27th on the various platforms that you see below. And to connect with me, make sure to check me out at the information provided. Take care, and remember, it's nothing minor. And there you have it for our public service announcement. So there's some great things taking place pretty much all over. And now we are so excited to have our very first guest. She's actually no stranger. If those of you can think back to October 23rd of last year for my anniversary show, TJ Everhart of Everhart and Associates was one of my special guests. And I tell you what, it's such a pleasure to have her back. TJ, how are you doing this fine evening? Okay, TJ, we need to make sure unmute yourself if you could, please. Okay, hold on just a moment, TJ.
I just took my headset off.
Oh, there we have it. Okay, so again, you know what? You just wanted to do that to build up the anticipation.
I did.
Exactly.
I did. Thank you.
The
No.
theater and the dramatic effects. So
So
again,
not. So not. I'm such a perfectionist when it comes to this kind of stuff. So trust me. No. But thank you for having me. Thank you for having me back. I appreciate it.
hey, no problem at all. TJ, so for those folks who didn't get a chance to get acquainted with you when you were on in October, could you give our viewers a little bit of your background? Where are you from? Where are you based out of?
I know they probably can't tell that I'm from the South because I don't have a Southern drawl, I'm sure, right? I know that's what you're going to say. But no, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, born and raised Birmingham. And so I've been here all of my life. Went off to college, but still in Alabama. But born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, Andrew.
Wow, awesome. And give our viewers a little bit of background before you pivoted into the work you're doing with your own business, Everhart and Associates. What's a little bit of your professional background in regards to your areas of, I'll say your areas of expertise?
Sure. So for around 20 years or more, I've worked in corporate America. And in my last roles, I was a senior operations manager, meaning I was responsible for an entire division and responsible for maintaining the health and the wellness of my division. So in my professional role, I've gained a lot of leadership experience, but the most important thing I gained was the ability to figure out how corporate became profitable and how corporate America sustains itself and all of the workings of a business, not enough to just have a business, but the inner workings to keep a business profitable and sustainable. And then along with training leaders and things like that, leadership development. So that's been my role for a lot of years. a lot of
Wow.
years. Andrew.
Wow. And the thing that just jumps out at me is a body of work, a solid work ethic, a solid work product. So here you are rolling along through in corporate. And of course, there's people who think about, instead of waiting on the shallow end of the pool, going to the deep end of the pool. When did you decide it was time for you to pivot and go ahead and start this current chapter professionally?
So I decided to pivot at a lot of times that other people realize that they need to pivot. I think I just did it. Well, a couple of things. I was over it. There comes a time when you go to work and you're just tired of going to work for other people, or you recognize that you're not really highly valued as much as you are. You have great skills, but you're working for someone else. But there's a lot of people, Andrew, that are just going to work because they need the check, not recognizing that they can take those very same skills that they have and develop those skills and develop themselves to be an entrepreneur. But there's always been something in me. I tell my husband, he would recognize around 3 to 5 years with the company, I just wasn't feeling them anymore, something. And I've always excelled wherever I went. I was known for a person that could take a whole department that may not be functioning and turn their performance around. I've always been a high performing, highly recognized manager and a leader in every corporation that I've worked for. I've worked for at least 3 Fortune 500 companies where I was the divisional manager. So I've always been recognized as a person that could take underperforming teams, underperforming departments, underperforming people, and make them high functioning. So although I could do that, after a while though, I just wasn't satisfied. I wasn't fulfilled. And that's because I recognize that there's an entrepreneur inside of me. And any of you who are going to work every day and you recognize that you're not fulfilled, it's probably because there's an entrepreneur inside of you. So that's why I said enough is enough.
And you said a lot right there, because there are people who go through, I don't want to say the swings, but the range of emotion where there's got to be more out there, but it might not be more where they are. And it's one of those things, just because you're in a certain space and place right now doesn't mean you're always going to be there. And it's great that you said that you recognized, after repeating this 3 to 5 year cycle at one location and another location, it's like, wait a minute, there's something bigger in me. So maybe, quote, I've got all that I need to go ahead and take this next step.
Most people do. And especially if you're really, really good at what you do, most of us will never reach our full potential financially working for someone else. That's just the truth. I was on a show not too long ago and on a meeting, and I talked about that CEOs make 1,000 more percent than the average worker. So let's just think, if you think you're making good money, even if you think you're making 6 figures and you're doing great, they're making 1,000% more than you off of the work that you are doing. And you have the ability to do it for yourself. It's just, do you know how to do it? Do you have the steps to put you in the right direction to be successful? And that's when I realized I know what to do, and I also know how to help other people do it too.
And that's huge, like you said before, recognizing your worth, but also helping empower others to have the same type of recognition. So let me ask you this, I guess, in your current role with the business services that you provide, walk through with our viewers, what are some of, I'll say, those core services, or I'll say foundation or essential services to help put more people in that position of where they're recognizing the talents that they have, but like you said, having more of the know-how and wherewithal?
Yeah. So I just fundamentally believe that God has a perfect plan for all of our lives. And that if we're just operating an average life, just going about just living, or we are stuck at the things that have happened to us in the past. So you and I have talked about, the things that I've gone through in life. So one of the things I've decided is that I'm going to help people strategize their lives and their business, because it's not going to happen by happenstance. So success won't come by happenstance. You've got to plan the way. The Bible even tells us that a man plans his way, but the Lord, God orders our steps. So plan your way, connect with the right people. So fundamentally, what I decided to do, my core customer I have two sides, but my core customer, if it's a small business owner, is the small business owner who has a vision. They have a vision, but they're not quite sure how to take off with the things that they do, or they have a great product and service, but they don't know the business side, the operational side of making a business be successful. Listen, the odds are against us. It's 50% that a business will fail between 3 and 5 years. So what are the things that are needed to be put in place? And I'm finding, Andrew, when I talk with small business owners, the basic principles that if I throw out words, ROI or trending and forecasting, things that they need, which are the things that corporate America does, they just don't know those things. So that's one of my customers. And then my corporate customers and corporate clients, what I do for them is leadership development, operational efficiency and profitability and things like that. I do it on a larger scale for corporations. So I have two customers, one being a corporate customer, and then my second would be a small business owner who needs some help in ensuring that they're profitable and sustainable.
And that's great that you mentioned that, because a lot of times when you think, or not a lot of times, but for some people when they hear business consultant or leadership development or things along those lines, they always think, well, I'm not big enough, or it's something that's reserved for large corporations. But like you said, part of what you're doing is empowering that small business owner and really strengthening that smaller business community. And you made a very telling stat. Again, remind our viewers, the data shows, you said within a 3 to 5 year period, it's about what, 50% of small businesses? That's, I mean, it's almost like you walking blindfold crossing the street. You got a chance of getting hit or not.
Yeah. And see so for us as an African-American community, and I'm going to say to everybody, right now is the prime time because people are looking to buy Black. But I did a blog and, I have a podcast and we'll talk about that. But I talked about, are we able to compete? So it's not a problem. We actually will start, it's about 2 million Black-owned business owners and businesses, right? But the problem is if the average rate is 50% will fail between 3 to 5%. In the African-American community, that percentage is even higher. And the reason I think it's higher is because we are really good at baking a cake. We are really good at what we do. And that's fine because that's what God has gifted you to do. He didn't gift me to bake the cake. You don't want my cake. So what you want from me is for me to come through and look at your processes and ask you the questions to make sure that you can sustain not just this month, but 3 years, 5 years and more. We want to beat the odds. Just like we want to beat the odds of our lives. I mean, man, come on. Some of us came from jacked up situations, but we were able to beat the odds. So just as I was able to beat the odd in life, we can beat the odds in business, but you cannot do it just thinking it's going to be enough that you have a great product or a great service. It doesn't work like that.
And you said a lot right there. And one of the things that is kind of ringing out is making sure to be more consistent with applying best and better practices. And another thing that you said, it's almost like being able to adjust with the landscapes. Like you said, right now is a prime time, we'll say, for Black-owned businesses. But during this prime time, like you said, making sure you have the wherewithal, the infrastructure that when the spotlight fades, you're still around, and that's
you're still standing,
and that's real huge.
And if you are asking someone, I'm just going to say to all our business owners, if you are asking someone to leave what they are loyal to, we have to offer a product that is as good as or better than. We can't expect because it's Black that we should accept a subservient product. And so this is the time. If you don't know how to build excellence, or if you don't know anything about your operating expenses, if you can't tell anyone right now how much it takes to sustain your business for 2 to 3 years, you're not in the best place for success. So don't sit around and fail when you can reach out and ask for help. I saw someone, Oprah said she had 5 business coaches. You don't have one. So if she has 5, surely you need one.
And you said a lot right there. And again, like you said, there's no shame in asking for help. Now, one thing I want to touch base on, which is in the series that you have, your podcast series, walk through with our viewers when that airs and what are some of the key topics that you cover?
So my podcast is Life Ain't Fair, Redesign It. So it's based upon, again, life strategies and business strategies. And so, Andrew, the podcast was built around the fact that I understand that life just ain't fair. I mean, call it what it is, just call it what it is. It's not fair. It's not fair. You may have been born into a family of dysfunction, or like most people are. It's not fair that COVID has come and your job has been minimized or your income has been minimized. It's not fair. But it's not for you to just sit in it. Okay, it's not fair. Change it. If you don't like the way things are, change it. And that's really what we talk about. I pull out different guests and we talk about the things that others have gone through, whether it is life and whether it is business, and how did you overcome the challenges. I sit back and think about, I am the girl from the inner city, call it what it is, in Birmingham, Alabama, and yet I was on a boat with Oprah for 3 days. How in the world did God do that? I never could imagine the life that I have based on how I grew up. So I talk about in the blog and in the podcast how when I was younger, I was pushed into the swimming pool and to the deep water, and that's how I learned how to swim. Well, you can do 2 things. You can sit there and focus on the water that's all around you, or you can focus on getting out. And so that's what the podcast is about. It's about giving yourself the strategies to make your life better and to make your business better. And you asked, when does it post? If you go out to subscribe, the episodes, I put an episode out every week, and my blog is also every week.
Awesome. That is great work and timely work. Now, here's another question, and I know this is one that you've been hearing, my friend, for about, I don't know, we're going to say about 2 years. When is the book, first off, going to get started? Well, technically, you've got it.
Started.
What's going on with the book? Come on.
Okay, so it's started. Okay, I have chapters, and I'm working diligently. But so you have to land your friend, because as soon as I get something else, I start going over here. So I start, I put chapters. I haven't finished chapters, and then I go do blog, then I go do podcast. So. And then I have a whole nother book idea, Andrew, because I feel like people just really need the help business-wise. So, yeah, I appreciate you. You're fabulous with holding me accountable. Trust me.
Well, that sounds like, that's part of what I do. Not only but no, seriously. And I think, and it sounds like when you are a sharp mind and a creative mind, your mind is constantly at work and there's some great ideas. So part of the challenge is there's 1,100 things you want to put in there, but I'll just say a word of insight. Everything doesn't have to be done all at once. Sometimes it's like you talked about the cake. You don't eat the whole cake at once. You eat a slice or two. So we're going to talk about that. Maybe what you need to do is just put a slice together. Do you see where I'm going with all this?
I do, and Andrew. I appreciate you. I'm on
together, it. You're going to be in good shape. So let's do this. As we're almost ready to wind down this segment, what are some things that you have on the horizon? So obviously, you're doing the consulting, you've got the blog series, you got the podcast series. Do you see yourself adding another tier of resources to help, both ends, from the small businesses to the corporations that you're working with?
Oh, absolutely. I'm working on courses, events. So I had a big event planned for this year. that had to be pushed back. So I'm always thinking about people and the way to get people access in a way that's affordable, because a lot of times, like you stated earlier, our people think that they can't afford it, or so I am working towards doing some things that's affordable. So I'm actually working on courses, Andrew, that people can download, and events. But right now, because of COVID, I'm having to do a lot of things virtual. So virtual trainings also.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, let's do this. As we get ready to wind down your segment, please let our viewers know the best ways to stay connected with you.
So the absolute best way, I want everyone that's watching right now, stop what you're doing, go right now to tjeverhart.com. And that's TJEVERHART. If you go there, that's a one-stop shop. You can find my social media accounts there. You could just click on all of my social media buttons and follow me there. You can go to resources and you'll see my blog there. You'll also see the podcast there. You also have information about my coaching programs there. And if you want to work with me, you can reach out to me there. I will just always say that it's so much easier to go to my website. If you want to just go to social media, just go to TJ Everhart. You can find me on the platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at TJ Everhart. But just do yourself a favor and just go to the website. You'll be able to find me there.
Okay, well, TJ, as always, you're doing some great work. Keep building on that. One time for the fam. And
one time for the fam.
One time for the fam. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our commercial break. And when we come back, not only does this show have a D9 theme, but we're getting ready to talk with one of the great sports journalists and just people based here in the Atlanta area. So we're going to go to commercial. This is the Conversation Corner with your host, the author, Andrew Snorton. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, with our second guest on the Conversation Corner. And I tell you what, anyone in Metro Atlanta or the Southeast, if they have followed any type of sports, this man right here is just not only one of the classier and more well-respected sports journalists, but just like having had a chance to meet him a time or two, just one of the real good guys all over. This is Mr. Sam Crenshaw. Sam, how are you doing this evening?
Great, Andrew. Great to be with you, man. Been looking forward to it.
Hey, likewise. I had this date circled on my calendar big time. Sam, for folks who are, let's say, outside of our Metro Atlanta area, could you give our viewers a little bit of background where you're originally from and where you're based out of?
And we'll do that because our previous guest, I was excited because TJ is my homegirl. I'm a native of Birmingham as well. Family moved to the Atlanta area when I was a teenager, but I'm a native of the 205. Very proud of that. Still have a lot of family there. But migrating to Atlanta as a teenager, and we're talking the early 70s, was eye-opening for me. I got to see people that looked like me and you that were doing things that maybe they weren't doing in Birmingham at the time. And it's because of all the things that happened during the civil rights movement. And while things were so resistant in Birmingham, things were more progressive here. And I think that's the thing that opened my eyes and to see some possibilities. And that happened. I was attracted to the broadcast business. I always tell people I have a hard time turning down career day invitations at schools. It was at one of those that I met someone from WSB here in town. And I was curious about radio, curious about TV as far as not being in front of the camera, but being behind the camera. There's many folks look like me in front of the camera, but I've seen some guys behind the camera at Braves games and Hawks games. I figured, maybe. And from that day, I go down for a visit, senior year in high school, a few weeks before graduation. And before I leave, they said, you're accepted to go to college not far away, which is West Georgia. Do you want to fill out an application for a possible part-time job? Honest. Fill it out and forgot about it. I go to West Georgia in the fall, and November that freshman year, I get a phone call on the door. My mom calls me and says, hey, people call from the station. They want to know if you want to come and work. And I forgot about the application. I was like, fire station, train station, what station you talking about?
Wow.
And they wanted me to come and basically babysit 6 reel-to-reel tape decks at the time that just played music, the stuff you hear in the elevator, in the grocery store and whatnot. And after a year, they put me on to start doing weather updates, news briefs and that type thing. So that's where I got started, from a career day in high school till anybody. And just be careful what you raise your hand and ask about, because years later, you could end up being in it. It's just like playing with a team. Your coach put me in, but you want to be ready. You don't want the coach to point you to go in the game, your shoes are not tied. So that's the other part. Ask the question, always ask the question, but be ready for a positive response. And that's what I tell young people all the time. So it's been a lengthy career working in broadcast and journalism, basically in sports journalism, and traveling some, paying your dues in places like Columbus, Georgia, and Augusta, Georgia, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and Greensboro, North Carolina, before working my way back here for 16 years. I was weekend sports anchor at WXIA 11 Alive, the NBC affiliate, and just getting a chance to touch so much and travel and do a lot of things. 2004 Olympics, just me and the camera guy for 3 weeks at the original home of the Olympics with the world's greatest athletes. Just get a chance to do that, covering Braves World Series, covering Falcons and Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl that they went to. Just so many things that I had a chance to touch. And now I'm doing so many different things. I'm still doing some of that. Obviously still broadcasting some of 92.9 The Game, doing some sports talk on there and broadcasting some games occasionally there. Georgia State, when they launched football, now 11 years ago, they invited me to be a part of the broadcast crew. So been a part of broadcast for Georgia State football and basketball. City of Atlanta is one to come over. And that gave me a chance to expand and grow a little bit, cover some things governmental and some things in the city and things with Atlanta Public Schools. Got some passion for that. My mom's former school teacher for APS. And so I get a chance to do some stories in that way. And, and GPB Sports, with their high school football coverage. They've been kind enough to invite me to be a part of that for a number of years, and just found out today that something that I started before the pandemic is going to come back online next month, and that is CW69, started at 10 o'clock newscast, and invited me to come back and be a sports person for that. So I'm looking forward to that coming back online here in about another month. So those are things that I'm doing, and that keep me busy and keep me challenged.
Wow. So in other words, you just don't have enough on your plate, young man, do you? But one of the things
you know what?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We're just thankful and blessed. That's all. Thankful and blessed.
But you made a great point in sharing your timeline, and it's where it all kind of got started at that career day. And that's a theme that I want to push on a little bit before we touch base on a couple other sports teams. You have a great project that you're doing to help cultivate not just the next generation of sports journalists, but journalism in general. And like you said, yes, sports journalism is, quote, at your core, but you're doing other work in the field. Walk through with our viewers the project that you have in place.
Peach State College Sports is something that I've had now for about 6 years. And I just wanted to do something as a give back. I mean, there's probably a lot of other things I could be doing with it, but it's basically a give back. And a young lady at Georgia Southern actually, reached out to me and communicated with me. Says, I never see anything about my school. It may see something in the Savannah paper on the day after a game. It may be a column in the Atlanta paper, but there's not much. And Georgia Southern has won 6 national championships. The football program. So I'm like, you know what? If I start something, you want to take part in it, and I will have a platform, and you can everybody know about what's happening at Georgia Southern, and we'll put it out and let people see it. And it just went from there. I wanted to give something, basically calling it Peach State College Sports, to young people who went to college in this state who want to do something while they're in school, to put their work out there, to get their name out there, something that I didn't have when I came along. And it's served me well. I've from practically every college in the state. I've had at one point a contributor, and then I get some from outside of the state. I've had contributors from Alabama, from Auburn, from LSU, Ole Miss, Chapel Hill, Carolina, Pitt, Just from a number of places I've had contributors for Arkansas State, Tennessee, Kentucky. And I'm amazed at the things that they're doing, Andrew, from being a part of this. And, one young lady wrote for Kentucky, and she's now working on her PhD at Oklahoma. A young man out of Valdosta State is now writing sports business for the Atlanta Business Chronicle, writing sports for them. A little different. He's not talking about the final score after games. He's talking about the people who write the checks to sponsor the games. So that's things I just really feel great about what some of the young people who've been a part of Peach State are doing. And I'm always looking for new recruits.
And it's great that you're talking about that. And I know in my previous show, we talked about how broad sports journalism is. And like you said, a lot of people focus on the game, but then there's that whole game behind the game, the business side, the scouting side, all these different things. One of the things that we talked about, and this is why what you're doing is so important, it's having more people to share those narratives. Now, I don't know the exact stats, but from my exposure, my experience of covering sports, there's definitely a need. It's anywhere, maybe 5, 10, 15% of your sports media are of African-American background. And this is something that we touched base on when we talked offline. Why, based on your body of work, what makes your presence or just our presence so important within sports?
My goodness, because we're the folks out there on the field playing. I think the general public kind of figures that the press box reflects the field. It does not. And sadly, it does not. It doesn't reflect this definitely at the collegiate level. And we got mass communication and journalism programs at all of these schools now. And when I came out of college back in the dark ages, it was selective schools that had it. Not everybody had it. Everybody has some form of a journalism or a communication program now that young people can get involved with and get the basics and get a good internship and start to climb the ladder. I'm usually disappointed that we don't take a cue when someone of color or an African-American player excels in a sport that's not usually one of sports. For the last 20 years, we've had at the top of golf, Tiger Woods, and the top of tennis, the Williams sisters. I would think there would be a lot more black tennis reporters and golf reporters than there are, but they're not. Right now with Bubba Wallace doing what he's doing with NASCAR, that opens doors. It opens doors for jobs. I mean, and he comes out and said a lot. He put his neck out there, and there's some people, his last race, there were some people who booed him. He's going to hear that. He's going out taking care of business and changing some things. But when somebody changes things, it opens doors, and everybody will step in. And I mean, I think it's not a comfort zone for some people, Andrew. We like to do what we feel comfortable with, and I understand that. But these are green dollars too, man. And so I would love to see how people, stretch out, expand their horizon. And when somebody like that steps forward, look at the jobs that open. And maybe not in journalism, but whatever it is you do, apply for those jobs with NASCAR. You can do that now because of what is going on.
You make some great points. And one of the things when you were talking about your body of work is, in order to get to where you are, you got to be willing to earn your stripes and earn your keep. And when you were talking about some of the other markets you worked, walk through for our viewers, when you decide to go this route, not just only in sports journalism, but journalism in general, you're not going to immediately start in the biggest market. You're going to be in the smaller to mid-size, but there's so many positives that can come from that. Just the relationships you build. So walk through with our viewers the importance of that progression. You might start off small, but it can position you for bigger things.
That's what I would tell anybody. Don't be afraid to go to a smaller place and get to me, learn and get the touch and get to make it be your type of play, but do things with your, to me, that's kind of like going to your kitchen or your lab. That's where you bring in the elements that's going to make up your delivery. That's going to set you apart from anybody else. And that's where it happens. That can't happen in a big place, in a major market. It's got to be in a small to mid-sized market where you can go in and develop and do some things. That's what it was for me. And and I'll give you an example. I'm working on Augusta. There was an HBCU there, Payne College. And I would do stories for a show that they were producing for ESPN. Each week I would let it go to Payne. And Payne didn't have football, small school, enrollment about 700 students. But their basketball team was really good in the conference, SIAC. I would send something on that, the men's and women's basketball, softball, baseball. I would send little features up to this program. Well, they were doing this program in Greensboro, North Carolina. Well, that would be my next step in my job. I go from Augusta, Georgia is the weekday guy to Greensboro, North Carolina is the weekend guy. And my television station is just blocks away from the building where they produce this show. The person who was hosting it at the time took a job at the TV station in Cincinnati. They wanted to know, hey, would your people at your station mind if you would host this show? And so for the time that I worked in Greensboro, North Carolina, for 6 of those 7 years, I hosted a show called Black College Sports Today that aired every week on ESPN. That got me a chance to do sideline work for ESPN College Football on ESPN2. That got me a chance to work a game in Grambling, Louisiana, when Coach Eddie Robinson was going for his 400th win. And I worked the sideline for that game. And he won the game, and I'm there on the field as he gets a phone call from President. But it's the thing is being around and being prepared and being ready. That's just how things happen with me in my career. You want to be around something. If you can't get to it, get as close as you can around it and let people know that's where you want to be and what you want to do. So, it was great for me. It got me some national rapport. It got me rapport where I would walk into a stadium in another city. And if I saw any of the ESPN guys, they all came over to me and knew who I was. And they still do. I mean, I did a broadcast game with Mike Golick, and I got to get to know people like Stuart Scott, the late Stuart Scott, and people like that. So it's just a matter of little things and just being in the place and being prepared. So, like I said, I'm very thankful for the things I've been able to do in this career. It's been an adventure.
And I'm glad you shared that. So again, it's like you said, where you are is preparing you for where you're about to go. And speaking of where we're about to go, we know during these changing times in our now normal, the sports landscape is just a little bit different than what we're used to. Now, I know one of the key areas that you're covering, like you mentioned before, is high school sports, definitely high school football. For our viewers that are Georgia-based, can you share with us a little bit of your insights just from the high schools that you've covered, the coaches that you've been able to talk with, and things along those lines?
Well, this week was a big week because everybody's been on pins and needles across the country, really, to see how high school athletics was going to carry out. If we're going to be able to play a fall season, if we're going to push it back and play in the spring for your fall sports. There are states that are doing a lot of different things. Well, here in Georgia, people want their football when they want their football. They want it to be in the fall. And this week, the High School Association here in Georgia decided to slide the season back 2 weeks. Now, what difference that makes with the virus or anything, I have no idea. But they decided to put back 2 weeks, I guess, to give the schools, the players more chance to get acclimated to heat, to give the schools more opportunity to make adjustments they need to make, because everybody can say they're happy that we're going to play football. But the thing of it is how are we going to do it? Right now, high school athletes, as they go and practice and train right now, their temperatures are checked every day. But there's no testing. And to my knowledge, there's no plan for testing. And so we got problems with the NFL and major college football, and these people are testing. And they're trying to figure out how they're going to get things done. But meanwhile, at the high school level, there is no testing where people say, hey, we're playing. And so I talked with one coach today, and Andrew, I tell you, the way he phrased it to me was, you know what, we've jumped out of the plane, but we got to get the parachute made before we hit the ground. So that's kind of, and that's the rough way of looking at it. That's kind of what it is. There are a lot of things to me that you're not telling people. How are you going to do bus trips? Are you going to allow fans to come in? Are you going to socially distance your fans? Are you going to go ahead and pack the stands like you normally would? How are you going to work those things out? Right now, the kids are practicing. They're bringing their own water from home. They can't share a squeeze bottle like they normally would do. Cannot do that. They're having to wipe down everything after the play. You got to disinfect the footballs. The helmets they wear, they take off. Coaches got to wipe them down and disinfect them. The weight rooms that they wear, they have to leave a mister on in the weight room to clean those, to kill any type of germs or bacteria. There's a lot of things that people not considering. The officials, your referees, some of those guys are over 55, 60 years old. What if they decide they don't want to come out and call games this fall? And you're going to have, who you're going to have? The B team coaches going to referee the games. There are a lot of things that people are not thinking about in this, but people are excited because we say we're going to play football. So the next couple of weeks are going to be interesting to see how it all turns out, or if some people really do realize, hey, maybe it's better we slide this thing back and don't do it till after first of the year.
And you said a lot right there, because, and we've read different reports where on the college level, some colleges haven't even been doing any workouts, and like Clemson, like a third of their team has gotten sick. Other schools, Kansas State had an issue. Even closer to home with the Atlanta Braves, I remember one of the players that I covered, Tuki Toussaint, is just recovering. Same thing with Freddie Freeman. So, and with Major League Baseball getting ready to start tomorrow, it's like, you know, on one hand, you understand that you want to do something, but is now really the time when, like you said, there's so many variables that we didn't even think about. And there's other unknowns. And you made a good point with the referees. A number of those officials just so happen to be age-wise, some of them age-wise are in that vulnerable situation. And you don't want anything really even more drastic to happen. So hopefully there's something that can be done. So you've shared with us your body of work over so many sports, so many locations, the additional work you're doing in the field, the work that you're doing to develop the next set of journalists in general, whether it's sports or otherwise. And then, you know, these other opportunities and it's hard to predict what's on the horizon, but what else is on the horizon for you, Sam?
You know, when I was listening to you talk with TJ, and I got to connect with her. Like I said, she's my homegirl. You talked about a book, and I hadn't really thought about it. You know what? You do that so easily. So maybe I have to hang out with you, because people say that we all have a book in us, as whether we choose to write it or not. So I'm doing that. I started doing a podcast for the U.S. Tennis Association. I'm passionate about tennis. Used to play pretty well back in the day. I don't play as well as I used to, but I still love to get out and hit the ball. And also, it's another sport that I think that our young people should try and excel in. It's called Talking Tennis Southern Style, basically about tennis around the Southeast. We have such an enthusiasm for it, as you well know. Here in Atlanta, organized tennis leagues are big. Whatever community you're right. Whatever side of town you move to, if you don't have a friend, just get your tennis racket and go to tennis courts, and you know, all of a sudden you have a bunch of friends. That's the way we socialize in our city. It is big, and so I enjoy doing that. But I was trying to think of been after me about doing a podcast of my own, and a title that keeps coming back to me is Act Two, and I know a lot of people do sports related podcasts, but I don't think I've heard anybody do one about second acts. People in the second act of life, of people who, you know, we hear about the ones that really stand out, your Magic Johnsons, and then people who, you know, the second act, or Shaquille O'Neal right now, his second act threatens to be bigger than his first. At least he's making more money. But there are other people in other areas who taken pursuits, and some we know about, some we don't. But I always think is the people who excel in athletics, if you can take that same drive, that same determination, that same competitive spirit, and take it into another level and be successful there. I think those are really neat stories, and people are, and something that will open some eyes of the people who hear it. Maybe challenge some people in a certain way just to hear those stories told. So to me, that's something I think of. The last few days, that name Act Two has been kind of ringing in my head. If I do something with it, I'll let you know. but that's something that
Yeah,
I just been thinking
definitely.
about.
Please do. Please do. What we're going to do is before we bring TJ back on to kind of wind everything down, Sam, what are the best ways that our viewers can stay connected with the great body of work that you're doing? The great body of work that you've already done and the great body of work that you still have yet to do.
Wow. Yeah, we like to think we still got a little left. We like to think we still got a few stones that are still unturned. Obviously, my Twitter, I'm on Twitter quite a bit, at Sam Crenshaw 23, at Sam Crenshaw 23. On Instagram, SR Crenshaw, there, usually posting pictures. I post a bunch of high school pictures today that went out by practice. And on Facebook, at Samuel Crenshaw there. And so check me there. SamCrenshaw.com is my blog page that I have. Of course, PeachStateCollegeSports.com is the one where we're featuring some future sports reporters and journalists. So those are probably the best ways to catch up with me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Sam, stay with us. What we're going to do, if we can, we're going to bring TJ back on with us to kind of help wind everything down. So in just a few moments. But before we get TJ back on, I guess, do we have TJ? Okay, so we've got everybody. Great. So first off, we've got the 205 connection with TJ and Sam. We have the Greek letter connection. Sam, I was remiss, member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, doing some great things there. TJ,
Yes.
I'll just go ahead and throw this out there. In listening to Sam's story, what's one quick question you'd like to pose to him that might be something that can translate and help you to help others?
So Sam, when you said you were from the 205, immediately I thought about the stories that I like to tell on my podcast. I want people to know that just because this, where you come from doesn't determine where your end will be. And how did you get from that place? Because Birmingham's not all bad, but we're not in the suburbs. 205 is not the suburb. So how did you go from, which community did you grow up in? Where did you grow up? Oh.
Collegeville. Yeah,
Hey,
see, I
Andrew.
see that look on your face, that look on
Andrew.
your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's me.
So,
All right.
Yeah.
Carver High School.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. So he was really in there. And so how do you inspire someone else from Collegeville, from Carver? How do they, what can you do to show them that they can be like you? Are the things that I like to talk about, because our kids kids look at it, this is what they see, but they don't understand their end is so much greater than, what their beginning is. So I would love to know, what inspired you to come out of Collegeville to be who you are.
Yeah. Well, my family moved, but I mean, that was one thing that allowed me to really kind of shift gears life-wise. I come from Collegeville, and how Collegeville is. My family moves to a neighborhood that's basically, kind of white middle class in East Point at the time, because my dad was working for the airport. But I'm just thankful for the fact that I had that. I'm comfortable around anybody. I don't fear a conversation with anyone because of that background. Now, I'm very proud right now with the movement that's going on to tell people about the things that I see. I'm a little bit older than you, so I remember seeing 16th Street Church after it had been bombed. I remember actually seeing the church. I remember seeing people in the street. I was too young to be there myself, but it means so much to me now. And here in Atlanta, as we get ready to lay to rest C.T. Vivian and John Lewis, this time I'm just filled with so many emotions because of what I was able to do. My mother taught one of the girls that died at that church. My father grew up having to ride the back of the bus, and one day he ended up driving the whole doggone thing down the road. He was in the second group of the first Black bus drivers in the city of Birmingham. So I'm very proud of that's the thing that shaped me. But everybody doesn't have that around them. That would be my wish for them. But it's not like anybody had to say, do like I do. I just watched the folks that were in front of me, and knew that I had to step in.
That's so awesome that you say that, because you did have a model to watch. Unfortunately, I did not. But
Hmm.
I thank God that there was something inside of me. And so, my story is twofold to tell, there's a segment of people you have someone to model after, and they can show you the greater side. And then there's a segment of us who did not, but the greater side is still inside of us. The
Yeah,
greatness is still inside of us, no matter where you start. And so that would be my thing. I would love for you, for us to just talk, on my podcast, and we can, help the kids in Birmingham know, man, there's so much greatness in you. You can do so many things. They just don't know it.
absolutely, absolutely. Exposure is a powerful thing. And TJ, I'm here in Atlanta. I feel like it's terrible that a kid can stand at the corner of Northside Drive and Bankhead and look to the east and see skyscrapers
Mm-hmm,
with
mm-hmm.
millions of dollars for, but they can't see themselves in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how can you have that? Those skyscrapers might as well be in Tokyo, but here they are, just blocks away, but you can't see yourself in there. So to me, that's the great thing that really needs to happen. And hopefully this movement encourages some of that.
Yeah.
Andrew, I think I shared with you, this movement is changing white America to rewrap their brains to approach us. But I think it encourages us to rewrap our brains about the way we see ourselves and see each other and the possibilities. So like I said, I'm very excited about this time, TJ. I hope, and I'm sure you are too as well,
Yeah.
about the possibilities that we are to
Yeah.
look at
This
ourselves
is
differently.
right. This is the time people are looking to do things different. They're looking for Black business owners. They're
Hmm.
looking to support, and we just need to make sure that we're ready. And people are ready. Let's not be caught. Someone's here. They want to hire us. So, and here's another thing. I'm seeing a lot of people. You say the skyscrapers. Just imagine people don't think that they can be CEOs. They don't
Right.
think that they can own a Fortune 500 company. They don't think that they can be anything but the employee. And you can be the employer, just like the wealthy do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, to me, that's the thing that challenges each of us, me, you, Andrew, when we have an opportunity through what's happening with this movement in our country right now, where a lot of those, like you said, it's gonna make good business sense to do business with the Black community. It's going to make good businesses to give young people opportunities, not just any jobs, but jobs with an upward trajectory. But like you
Absolutely.
said, are you going to be ready?
Are you ready?
And I tell you what, both of you made some great points in about it. Like you said, it's about staying ready. So here's what we're going to do as we're getting ready to wind down. TJ, please remind our viewers again the best ways that they can get connected with you.
So you can find me the best way. The one-stop shop is my website, tjeverhart.com, or you can just go to social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube are all TJ Everhart. Twitter is TRJ Everhart, but everything is TJ Everhart. My blog post is there. Also, if you're listening to podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find my podcast, Life Ain't Fair, redesign it on any of the streaming platforms. Or just go to my website, tjeverhart.com, to find all of that.
Okay, and Sam, again, remind our viewers the best ways to stay connected with you.
Okay, my website is samcrenshaw.com, but I do more through Twitter, which is at samcrenshaw23, on Facebook, Samuel Crenshaw, SR Crenshaw, on Instagram. Don't forget, peachstatecollegesports.com. Young people who want to get a leg up and get started, putting your material out there, whatever you do, write, blog, video, whatever. As a student, we'd love to put your work out there and get some exposure for you.
Okay, and again, as we get ready to close out for the night and get prepared for the next show that's coming on, to both TJ and Sam, I thank you both for taking time out of your schedules to share your stories of impact. Keep building on the great work you're doing, and both of you did a lot of seed planting tonight for our viewers near and far, so thank you so much for that. We're definitely grateful. As a quick reminder, this is what we do every second and fourth Wednesday at about 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the Status Network. Our next live broadcast will be 2 weeks from now, not August 26th. I'm already thinking ahead to the end of the month. August 12th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as we go ahead and kind of ride out into the sunset, we're going to take another look at the release for Nothing Minor. You can already pre-order it on Amazon, but we're going to take a look and we're going to call it a show. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see you the second Wednesday of August.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks a lot, Andrew. Enjoyed it.
This is the author, Andrew Snorton. I'm inviting you to join me for Nothing Minor, my next book release, which covers minor league baseball and the great teams and players in the Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and Mississippi. And we even have a special shout to the Negro Southern League Museum. Make sure to check out the release date of July 27th on the various platforms that you see below. And to connect with me, make sure to check me out at the information provided. Take care, and remember, it's nothing minor.